Stansell team, so while the Connors and Staggies are away, we decided to kind of take over a little bit today. So I have Mr. Jeff Black with me here today, as well as Mr. Jim Flynn, and we are going to be talking about heat-related illnesses and protecting yourself during the summer. While this may seem directed towards a field team, it is also for everyone in our organization because we want everyone to see kind of the difficulties and the responsibilities that our superintendents have out in the field to make sure that they're safe, as well as our trade partners. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, as well as OSHA standards, guidelines, signs to look for. Again, you're in for a real treat with some subject matter experts that we have here today. So without further ado, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Jim, for being here.
No problem.
Thank you for
Happy to
your
be
time.
here.
Thank you for your time today. So, Jeff, obviously, I think you have a lot more experience than the two me and Jim here. As a superintendent yourself, before you became an area supervisor, did you have any like firsthand experience with heat-related illnesses or heat-related injuries that you can share, either if it's for yourself or trade partners?
I haven't really had any heat-related experiences that I could pass on as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from more of an athletic background, hydration
Mm-hmm.
and body temperature has always been a focus for me.
Mm-hmm.
So what that translates into from a field operation standpoint, being out there, sun, we'll start with the sun exposure. That's probably the first thing you're going to experience. I used to have you can buy them on Amazon, but it's a brim with basically a curtain that hung around,
Mm.
came all the way around the front. So it kept my face out of the sun, although prior to that is another story. So things like that, keeping sun exposure to a minimum as much as possible. I know in the past when I was a superintendent, I would use long sleeve shirts to keep it off my skin. So there's that. There's the wide brims that you can pick up. And then as we get into heat exposure, we're getting into those temperatures right now where we're coming into summer. Um, Temperature and humidity play a big part of that. And it's one of the things I want to talk about is typically the temperature you see is a dry bulb temperature reading, but the more important one is a wet bulb temperature reading. And what that does, the wet bulb takes into consideration the impacts of humidity. So if you are out in the west or an area that tends to be a drier, less humidity environment, the temperature will fluctuate in regards to the humidity. So in other words, 85 degrees at 95 or 100% humidity in the southeast, it's going to have a different impact out there. So I always try to focus on that. And in regards to that, if you get to the point where you're sweating and you're not able to dry out, it's extremely humid, and that wet bulb temperature plays more of an impact. So, for instance, typically with the wet bulb temperature, 88 degrees is where the human body starts to feel some of those impacts. And then when you get up towards a 95 wet bulb, you are facing a potentially extremely limiting time frame before your body has highly negative consequences to that temperature. Um, you cannot work out there at 95 degrees and 100% humidity. Whereas if it was 88 degrees and 40% humidity, you're not going to feel the impacts. And then the flip side of that is that when you are in that drier environment, you're going to get dehydrated, but you may not realize it because you're not sweating. It
Oh.
dries so fast that you just don't realize it. And it's one of those things, you can judge your body's impact to the humidity and temperature. A great one is if you are not drinking enough water, then you're not going to be going to the bathroom. So
Mm.
if you're not urinating every 2 to 3 hours, you're going all day without going to the bathroom, or 5 or 6 hours, whatever it is, you're dehydrated. And then the other thing to consider if you're looking to judge your body's reaction is that if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're drinking constantly, and then you need to pay attention to what it is you're drinking. So water at a minimum, electrolytes if you're sweating heavily, because you'll lose the potassium, calcium, magnesium, everything else your body needs, and from an electrolyte standpoint. So you may want to consider supplementing your electrolytes, so Gatorade or some other source of.
The banana could be good.
Yeah, bananas are a great source. Um, and on the flip side, you want to avoid things that are going to dehydrate you. I will tell you, I will not give up my coffee in the morning. That's how I start my day. But coffee is a diuretic. So if you're drinking coffee throughout the day instead of something else like water or electrolyte mix, you're going to get dehydrated because the coffee forces the water out of your body.
Wow.
And then you can have the same impacts. If you're going out drinking at night,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol is a diuretic also. It's going to dehydrate you. So you need to be taking these things into consideration.
Yeah.
And then, another thing that I'd like to talk about is from a company standpoint, we want to make sure our vendors have their water source or whatever.
Yeah.
As a company, we generally are not supplying that for our subcontractors, but at the same time, if it's a situation where we need to provide something for somebody, we're not going to turn them down. What I've always told superintendents, if you need to get water, go buy it by the case, put it on their job site water in your notes. But if you go into Home Depot and you think you're just going to grab something out of the cooler and add that extra bottle to the whatever materials, I can promise you're going to get a call from accounting because they're going to want to know why you're buying an individual water like that.
Yeah.
So I always tell superintendents, buy it by the case, have it for you to drink on the job site. And then if we do have something like day labor that's on the job site, we do need to provide them with fluids. So just some of the things that I've experienced and knowledge to share.
Absolutely. No, I think we all appreciate it. I think regardless of how long a superintendent's been on a job site, those tips or even insights are very helpful. But I think, like you said, bringing cases of water is just a good practice because I think our trade partners will appreciate it as well too, as more of they care about me. They care about, hey, I need to stay hydrated. So they have bottles of water, whatever it may be like that. Jim, I know we talked before and you have an interesting story that you.
Yeah, Jeff did a great job of talking about some of the things you can wear to protect yourself from the sun and stay hydrated. Don't forget about those safety glasses, right? Especially the tinted ones or the shaded ones.
Yeah.
I had a work colleague who did flat work for over 20 years, and he was diagnosed with some serious eye issues, not from looking up in the sun, but rather looking at the concrete for so long without glasses that the sun actually penetrated his eyes and caused some significant eyesight damage. So the more you can cover everything against the sun, the better. But of course, we're saying that right now, you're on a job. It's not super inviting to be layering yourself with items, right? Because it's hot.
Yeah.
So there's a balance there, but dry fit clothing is always good. Stansell provides safety reflective vests, which is great.
Yeah.
But Jeff did a great job of mentioning how you can also get dry fit reflective long sleeve shirts, and it would accomplish the same mission. And I also understand not wanting to layer sunscreen all over your body because that makes you sweat more, right? It's a little hotter if it's running through your eyes.
It burns.
Definitely. Yeah, that was my biggest challenge. Always.
It's a predicament. But Jeff's idea, and I've seen other superintendents do this with the brim on the hard hat.
Yeah.
That's a great way. That's a good workaround to where you really probably don't have to put the sunscreen all over your face if you've got something like that on. But yeah, serious stuff, and don't forget about how the sun, or I should say dehydration, can really wreak havoc on there's heat exhaustion and heat stroke, which are more immediate concerns right now, right? But then there's the longer term, and I think you mentioned it, Hayley, which is constant dehydration on your body will wreak havocs on your internal organs long term. And then skin cancer is a long-term issue where you could get repeatedly burnt now and it could catch up with you 10 15 20 years from now. That's a very personal thing for me. My mom's melanoma survivor,
Yeah.
and she swears that she was subjected to the beach without sunscreen as a kid forever, and then at 65 years old, it caught up to her.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they caught it, and that's a good thing. But trying to avoid it altogether would be the best solution.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of one of those silent things, right? Of like you
Oh yeah.
don't see it now, but it can happen later. Again, same with your internal organs as well too.
Oh yeah.
As our resident safety manager, what does OSHA have to say about heat exhaustion, heat-related illness?
Yeah, and there's a lot of confusion around this, so I thought it would be good to bring these items today because there is some overlap between heat exhaustion and heat stroke,
Yeah.
but there is a huge difference, which I'll talk about in a second. But we've all experienced the heat exhaustion symptoms, right? Like dizzy or faint, sweating excessively, especially if you don't take in enough salt, getting pale skin or starting to feel nauseous. That could be a sign. A rapid pulse is definitely an indicator of heat exhaustion. Muscle cramping, which may not happen on the job, right? That might happen in the middle of the night. Anybody who's woken up
Typically, yeah.
with a
Yeah.
Charlie horse
I've
at
had that
3
happen
a.m.
many times.
It's a very effective alarm clock.
Yes.
It will wake you up. But these are all things that can be remedied by just simply cooling off, hydrating, a wet towel, get some shade. These are all things that I think everybody who's going to watch this will relate to. The heat stroke, the big one that people really need to pay attention to is if you stop sweating and you're starting to get cold and it is 95 degrees out, you've got a problem, a legitimate problem, and you should really pay attention to it because at that point, you're going to be hard pressed to catch up hydration wise. Like, I don't think you're going to take 2 bottles of water, pound them, and be okay.
Ugh.
You are way behind the ball at that point and on the verge of something far worse. So in those cases, you're encouraged to pretty much seek medical help right away. And if you lose consciousness, this is whether it's our trade partner or our own people, that's a 911 call right away. You don't want to take any chances because you have obviously this person passed out for some heat related issue, but there could now be some other things going on too that you won't know by looking at them. So just best to get them some medical attention and try to cool them off while you're waiting for it. But that's the big sign for heat stroke is you've just stopped sweating altogether.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff will tell you about this. I've always heard from people that are working out in the field because they work so hard to do such a good job and they are doing awesome, but you got to get ahead of it. If you're not hydrating the night before, you're already behind the ball.
Yeah.
And I've heard things like pickle juice being used to try to keep the salts in. Not a fan, but I guess you got to do what you got to do.
It tastes good. It actually does. I can tell you that because I've done it.
And I'm not a salt person, so I'm one of these people that I am aware of my own situation where I know I will sweat a lot because I don't take enough salt.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things you can do to make up for that. But
but being aware of it is a big start, right?
Absolutely. You just know your body.
Yeah.
And your body will be telling you stuff. And my wife's a nurse. She tells me all the time, has to remind me that I'm a stubborn male, and don't keep pushing through something where your body's telling you, hey, we're on the verge of something a little more serious here.
No, I think that's actually great advice from your wife as well as from a nurse as well too. Of hey, it's okay to take a step back and you have to listen to what your body is saying, and it's easy to push through, right? I'm sure like our superintendents are very guilty of pushing through maybe when they shouldn't because either the job's behind schedule or they want to stay on schedule. I think that's probably a big indicator as well too of why they kind of push themselves or we push ourselves a little bit further as well. Same with trade partners. I'm sure that they experience the same thing of, well, I don't want to get behind or I don't, I want to finish this scope of work today. So let me just keep working through my lunch, not take a break. And then like, you guys mentioned it wreaks havoc silently and quickly as well too.
Yeah, you got to take that time off. Even our trade partners will have like a mid-morning break, and then they'll have lunch in the mid-afternoon break. That's a chance just to rehydrate, take a few minutes away from the job site. And I would encourage the superintendents the same thing. Take advantage of that when you need to. It's not work 8, 10, 12 hours nonstop. You need to pace yourself throughout the day and take breaks when necessary. When you take those breaks and you go inside and you start to cool off and you start to, your shirt starts to dry out, you see those white stains on your shirt. That's the electrolytes that your body
Yeah.
has lost throughout the day. So that's a good sign that you need to take some electrolytes. Another thing that we have recommended to superintendents in the past is have a designated area. If you're on a job site that's ground up, you don't have a roof over your head, have an area where you could potentially, if you set your Connex in your
Mhm.
office a little bit apart, strap a tarp in between them, create a shade area,
That's
and
great
that can make
advice.
a great difference for not just yourself but all your trade partners and helping look out for
It's great
their
advice.
Yeah, because you might not have a tree either to
Yeah,
just go stand under on your job
exactly.
site as well
Yep.
too. No, I think that's great advice.
I hope I know there's people that are gonna see this that are gonna relate to this. They've all experienced, unfortunately, some of these things. But if
Mhm.
if you haven't, the thing to stress is how quickly this can come on. You can go from feeling completely fine to the curtains. This is how people describe when they're suffering from heat stroke or heat exhaustion.
Mm.
The curtains start to close on you. From a conscious standpoint, that can happen literally in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes, where you
Mm.
feel completely fine
Wow.
standing up to I'm literally gonna fall over, pass out.
Mhm.
So it's if your body's starting to tell you a little something, like listen to it,
Yeah,
and maybe take. It's okay to take a break.
it is.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll make up ground. Our people are so good at what they do. They can find. They're like a pilot in the air, right? We'll make up time
Yeah,
somewhere. But we're
taking
not making up time if we're not on the job
if we're
and
seeing
something
those
far worse
curtains
happens.
close.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good reminder, like you said, Jeff, it's for not only for our superintendents, but to remind our trade partners that it's okay to take a break. Those 2 to 5, 10 minutes can always be made up. That's
Yeah.
that's nothing when you talk about schedules, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. You just cannot go nonstop,
no.
and you've got to have some rest period in there.
Mhm.
So
And you work
it,
better when you do it like that.
yes, you do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's great advice. So when you specifically go to like your job sites during the summer, is there, you always check to make sure that they have those tarps up, those shades? Is there something that you like look for when you go to your job sites?
It's a topic of discussion.
Hmm.
It's like I tell the superintendents, I'm not going to dictate how you do something. We can have a discussion if you want to bounce ideas off me, and I'll give you my feedback. But they're the job site professionals, and they need to treat not just the vendors and everybody else that way, but even themselves. They have to recognize when to pace themselves, what aspects are conducive to keeping the job moving forward,
Mm.
and things to avoid. So,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's great advice. I just appreciate you looking out for our supers and our trade partners as well too. I'm sure that they appreciate it because I think the first thing that we always forget about is ourselves and how we're doing.
Hmm.
And so I love that you're there to kind of check with them
Yeah, they're
as well
called
too.
trade partners for a reason.
Yeah.
We don't consider them as vendors. They're trade partners because we can't do what we do without their partnership.
Absolutely. And we need them to be just as
And we need
healthy.
to treat them as a partner, not as just a vendor.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, we don't self perform anything. So if they
Exactly.
didn't show up or if, they're sick,
Yep.
then we can't do it without them.
Oh, yeah.
Haley and Jeff, a couple other things that definitely want to mention is medications.
Hmm.
Certain medications that people are on will make you more prone to heat related illness
Yeah.
and more sensitive to the sun. So that's something that somebody has to consult, obviously, their doctor about. But someone like myself, I didn't know that until I found out in a really weird way. So you're going to want to pay attention to what you're taking and how it might affect you in the sun.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we mentioned sunscreen earlier. Very important that you don't get points for just applying the sunscreen once, right? You got to keep reapplying it so that it
Yeah.
actually works. And it's actually, they recommend every 2 hours roughly to reapply sunscreen,
Mm.
which when you're busy and you're caught up in everything, how quickly time can go,
Putting a 2 hour timer is really
Difficult.
not that
Yeah.
feasible.
it
Yeah.
can be tough. But the thing to remember is just there's nothing, you can't really over apply it.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, just keep putting on because certainly in
Mhm.
an 8 to 10 hour day, one time, if you don't have additional coverage, that's not going to do a whole lot for you.
Yeah. And as you're sweating, you're losing that sunscreen.
Yeah,
So,
it comes right off.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, I think this is all great tips, not just for our guys in the field, our trade partners, but as well as just anyone going out in the summer. If you're taking a trip to Disney or if you're going to the beach with your
Absolutely.
family, I think it's all great information, no matter if it's work related or personal related. But just a reminder that your area supervisor is always a resource, as well as Mr. Jim Flynn. always resources for you guys, whether if it's heat-related illness or exhaustion, or even if it's just a safety question, they're always there as a resource. I'm sure you guys know this, but just a reminder that they're always there. And then to wrap it up, we have something really cool coming in the first week of June. We have summer care packages coming for our field team. So every single person in the field team, including our area supervisors, will receive a summer care package. That includes a brand new Stansell backpack, a Stansell water bottle that is tried and true tested that it is not breakable. And then it comes with sunscreen. Again, just a reminder to wear your sunscreen, as well as cooling towels. Again, this is because we care about you guys and we just want to make sure that you guys are safe and you guys are ready to get the summer started and execute with urgency. So with that, thank you, Jeff, for your time. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate you making
Happy
time
to
for
be
us.
here.
And Mr. Jim Flynn, always
My pleasure.
a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great week.
See ya.